All right, well, so far on my channel, one of the most popular videos has been some of the toolbox organizational stuff. And so maybe that's a topic of interest for people. I will say I am one of these really sort of anally retentively organized people. In fact, I have a very hard time concentrating and focusing if things are not in neat order. And I don't consider that a skill or a competency. In fact, I have several friends who can work in chaos and disorganization, and I actually respect them for that because in the time that it takes me to get organized, they're getting work done, which is of great value. And so I've put a lot of time into organizing my garage and my life, and sometimes disorganized people feel inferior or embarrassed that their spaces are not as organized, but I actually don't see it that way. I think if you can work in chaos and it doesn't drive you mad and you can be productive, I think that's great. Some of us can't, and so I almost see my need for being organized almost as a deficiency. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Not that you think I'm bragging or showing off. It's actually kind of the opposite. My mind just doesn't work that well when things are disorganized. So I thought I would show you two organizational tips today for ratchet straps and bungee cords. So my mind hates cables and cords and straps. It just can't stand the chaos. And yet these things, in my opinion, are so difficult to keep organized when you have 10 or 12 of them and they're different lengths and widths. I've spent most of my adult life annoyed and just sort of left these things in a bucket like everybody else. I have tried things like this. This is actually a brand new one that I've never opened. I have tried these sort of little things, these Velcro deals for like computer cables, and in the long run, they typically don't hold up. I've also done the same with plastic zip ties, which work really good for long-term storage, but obviously then you have to snip them when you need them, and then you probably don't have zip ties with you. And so that's kind of not that good of a solution. I've tried rubber bands, which eventually rot and wear out and break. I've tried, there's a method that I saw, I think his name is the Swedish Homestead or something like that on YouTube. He has a method for wrapping ratchet straps that I liked, but with so many different styles and lengths and widths that I have, and with the infrequency with which I wrap ratchet straps, even watching his YouTube video several times over several years, I just could never get into the habit of doing it. And so I'm going to show you the method I've been using for a long time that works well. I think the Essential Craftsman recently did a video with this same method. So basically this method allows you to be ready to go once you unravel it. So basically you take that to one side of the load and you take this to one side of the load, and then you start ratcheting and you're ready to go. So that's another nice thing, is there's different ways to package them up, but some of them have to be threaded through the windlass when you unpackage them, some don't. So here's my method. So you make the windlass, you collapse the hinge, or whatever you'd call it, the buckle, and the windlass is like this, and you wrap it through. And then you pull this all the way through, and you wrap in one direction, and if the buckles don't lay nice, then you wrap in the other direction. So as an example, if I had started wrapping this way first, then this hook kind of is leaning like that, which is not real nice. So then I would just wrap in the other direction. You kind of got to do that first to figure out which direction the hooks are going to lay nice and flat. So sorry, I got to get on camera here. Let me do that. So now that they're sort of laying nice and flat, I start wrapping, and I pull, especially in the beginning, I pull to get some tension on there so that it's not floppy. And I wrap, and I stop wrapping when I have, basically when the end of my strap is touching the ground. Okay, so like this long, something like 3.5 feet, I stop, maybe do one more wrap, and then I pinch, and then I start to wrap this way. So you kind of just bend it over on itself, like this. And this is maybe the most important part. While pinching with your left hand, you still really sort of cinch with your right hand. And then you just do a couple wraps. And then when you're about here, oh, I didn't get myself quite enough. So then when you're about here, put a finger in there just like you're tying a balloon. And it doesn't really matter which way you go. You go either way. And you cinch it up like that. Now this is, I don't think this is the absolute most secure method, but it is pretty secure depending on the environment in which your ratchet straps live. And when you're ready to go again, you just pull that tail out. You can basically just drop it and it's ready to go. So I've spent at least 15 years annoyed like crazy and trying all these different things. And this is the method that I think is most effective, easiest to remember how to do, most intuitive, and is the balance between, you know, not quite being as secure as a tie strap or a zip tie, but also not requiring zip ties to be laying around. So anyway, that's that one. The next one is, I've never seen anyone do this before. This was kind of my own idea. I'm not saying I'm the first, it's just, I didn't get it from anyone else, but this is basically how I organize bungee cords. You take a piece of PVC pipe, I think this is 2-inch, and you can cut it to whatever length makes sense for you. And this is obviously easier if you have a lot of the same length bungee cord, but you basically just hook them like that, and you cut the pipe to a length that puts a little tension on them so that they don't come undone, but not too much tension. And if you had all the same length, then it would be really easy, bungee cords, to just do that. What I also did is I cut this groove in there so that, I'll just show you, make it really obvious. So I'll basically hook a really long one on this end, and then this goes over like that and comes back around. That may be unnecessary in a lot of applications, but it also provides a lot of confidence so that this thing doesn't slip off and then get disconnected. I've been using this method for 3, 4, 5 years in the back of my truck. It works really good. PVC pipe is very inexpensive. People have scraps lying around often, I think. At least I do. So yeah, hopefully that helps you stay a little bit more sane, a little bit more organized. But ultimately the goal is to be productive and useful and helpful, not to just be organized. So try not to obsess over it like I sometimes do, but hopefully all of my obsessing and finding a couple of good solutions will be helpful to you all. If not, go over and watch The Essential Craftsman on YouTube. He's a really interesting guy, very humble, very knowledgeable, and his videos are a lot better than mine. So if you didn't enjoy this one, I hope you go enjoy one of his. All right, folks, take care.